Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in once again to a little something we like to call a Ball on Blast podcast. As always, in case you forgot, because it's been a while, my name is Sheldon Alexander. I'm joined by my dude, Mr. Andrew Webster. I had to say it a little louder for the kids at the back because it's been so long.
It's been a little while. I came here actually to ask Sheldon for a little bit of money because of all the success that he's had this past NFL season. I don't mean to kick off the show with a plug, but Shelly, I gotta give you your flowers, man. Like the NFL picks were on fire. They were in fuego. You had me at the edge of my seat. This year, I'm putting in money at the beginning of the year just to ride on your picks. I've come to the realization that you guys are way better at this than I am. Every month, like Monday, I'm looking at the results and I'm like, man, these guys are killing it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot I could say there. I'll just say to the people following along on this feed, the On Blast podcast feed, you might be familiar with the football picks we've been doing this season. A great run we've had so far, clicking at about 58% for the picks against the spread. It's been an insane ride. The Super Bowl preview will be coming up later this week with my guy, Matt Russell. So yeah, you could tune in. It's been a fun ride. And I
hope you have the birds. That's all I'm saying. On Sunday, I hope you have the birds.
We'll save that for a tease. I'll obviously let you get your Philadelphia propaganda off at the end of this basketball pod, and I will maybe give a sneak peek of what my pick will be as a tease into our football picks pod that will drop later on this week. And for the people, the picks this year, it's been, what are we here? 159 for the regular season. No, I didn't update that yet, so I don't even want to give out a false number here.
No.
But
just know that it's good. It's really, really good.
Like games above 500. We're doing work here. Actually, I can't update that because what was last week? Last week we went 1-1, right? We had last week or the last game it would have been the Chiefs, and of course I had my Niners against your Eagles. I'm not mad at that.
You get over that. Succumb with emotion. I understand. People think that they have a chance. You come into these games against the Eagles, you think you have a chance. You read the articles, you listen to the talking heads, and then they run it down your throat. Time it. We'll get to it later.
You see, people think that this pod, the Ball on Blast pod, came back so that we could talk about the craziness in the NBA. But in reality, I just lost a bet to Webster. And so I had to come back on, have him on the pod so he could talk shit to me because the Niners lost to his Eagles. And right as I'm getting over it, you got to bring back all these wounds. Like I was over it. I was able to accept it.
I'm like Sirianni. I'm like Sirianni mugging for the camera. That's what I do.
Get that guy off my TV. Come on, man. We're not going to do this. We're trying to start here on a high note.
There's huge things. There's huge NBA stories to talk about.
Which is why we are back here on this, the Ball on Blast pod. Longtime followers of the On Blast Podcast Network know that we've been doing this in different iterations, but this has been a go-to place that I have loved to have this platform with a bunch of my friends, Webby being first and foremost in terms of where we can just talk ball from what we like to think of an educated fan perspective. We love the game of basketball.
Basketball watchers, basketball knowers. Consumers.
We consume a lot of basketball. We love the game of basketball. We are fans of basketball. We appreciate the culture, but you're also talking about 20 years deep in terms of industry experience working in and around the game of basketball, as well as you remember the sweet sounds of Mr. Andrew Webster's voice as one of the guys, that used to give us the highlight goodness. Late night, overnights at the Score back in the day, and then at Sports Day, so
I was certainly watching way more basketball then, and then now I have a toddler, and so I'm getting, the first, I like to say first 3 quarters of that early game, and then I'm coming in for the last 3 quarters of the late game. So sometimes I miss the endings and the beginnings, but I'm watching. We're consuming basketball content and knowledge from all areas, all avenues, and we just, like you say, it's a free-flowing conversation because what is more fun, Sheldon, to talk about, especially now that the NFL is winding down,
Mhm.
than the drama that is? It's the best soap opera on TV. There
So
are 32 main characters, each one crazier than the next.
the best part to me about this, it's been a while since we've talked ball on this feed. And we've seen all the messages, people begging me, like, where's the Raptors talk? What, are you not allowed to talk Raptors anymore? What's this challenge stuff? We got football pods. Like, what's going on? What happened to the ball talk? Know that this is a place to come to where we will talk basketball. There will be culture talk. We're going to do this once a week, and you're going to get your Raptors talk. All the Wrap It Up fans, which I got to give a huge shout out to our boys, to the
Huge following.
guy Q. Q told me a couple weeks ago. This was actually, when did I see Q? It had to be like in the summertime, maybe. But Q told me his son, shouts to Avery, putting in real work with the Scarborough, their rep team there. But
Let's go.
he was telling me they were at Hoop Dome, and all of a sudden he's like, he across the room, like across the gym, he sees this woman like staring at him, and he's like, why is this like grown woman staring at me in my face? And she walks over and she's like, Q from the Wrap It Up podcast?
Yes,
He's like,
yes,
wait, what?
yes.
And she's like, what happened to the podcast? Right. So listen, I'm saying this to say blessings on blessings on blessings. We hear all the messages, we see all the messages. The basketball
Love it.
content is back on its way because it's just fun for us to shoot the shit and talk about everything that's going on in the NBA. And a peek behind the curtain, I've been in contact with Webby. We've been talking about, okay, in somehow, some way, basketball talk's going to come back. I projected it to be in and around after the Super Bowl, just for my schedule purposes.
And
in
you know
terms
what?
of
I'm
the
gonna
Mavs
have to
for the
get
week.
over my hangover after the big 20-point win we're about to put on the Chiefs. So
See,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
let you
after the
talk all
Super Bowl,
your Philly talk now, man. I'm just letting you
we'll
know.
really start to gear up after the big win on Sunday.
Yes. So, we're gonna wait after the Super Bowl. We're gonna transition to basketball. But then, there's a guy in the NBA who every once in a while seems to take things and I mean, if I don't even know how to describe Kyrie Irving at this
Walker
point,
Kessler.
but
Oh, Kyrie Irving. Yeah.
so just so people know what's coming up on today's pod, we're going to talk about the Raptors at the trade deadline because they appear to be the team that everyone is talking about. What will they do and
The linchpin of the entire deadline, man.
what role will they play in the deadline? We'll have lots of Raptors talk. So Raptors fans, stay tuned. We'll normally end up starting this Ball on Blast pod with a little Raptors talk. But when your man's Kyrie decides that just on, the middle of a run where the
What
team's
was it?
actually playing well.
He's putting up huge numbers night in, night out. He's consistently playing well. The Nets are locked into a playoff spot right now, like no
Yeah.
real danger of, other than catastrophe, than going down to the playing rounds, but like playing great. Kevin Durant is hurt, but
Yeah.
like he's Kevin Durant. He's going to be playing at a top level soon enough.
Yeah.
Things are looking good in Brooklyn,
And then your man's
right?
Kyrie decides that he wants to demand a trade. So if we piece together a bunch of connect the dots of the storylines of how these things end up in Shams and Woj and their continued fight of running, NBA media, it turns out that the Nets and Kyrie were trying to negotiate a contract extension. Kyrie was not happy with the fact, reportedly, Kyrie was not happy with the fact that the Nets had certain stipulations within said contract extension. And for that reason, he then demands a trade out. The Nets, apparently, I don't know how anyone could blame them, is probably tired of this whole Kyrie Irving saga. And they ship him to the Dallas Mavericks they ship Kyrie Irving and one of the Morris twins. If you follow us, you know that I don't know which is which.
Yeah.
One of the Morris twins to the Dallas Mavs for Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, an unprotected 2029 first-round pick, second-round pick, and 2 second-round picks. So my first question to you, just in general, Kyrie Irving to the Mavs, what say you, Mr. Andrew Webster?
I don't know how any NBA team can give up even Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, like not great players, but serviceable NBA stars. I don't know how you can give any of that up for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
I mean,
Makes no sense.
you're not gonna fix her. You know, you're not gonna turn the hoe to a housewife. We know who Kyrie Irving is. Okay, we know what he does to teams. Yes, he's extremely talented. Yeah, he's awesome to watch. Yeah, he's won a championship. Yeah, he can put up numbers. But why any team, any owner? Like all these guys are billionaires, so they think that they're smarter than each other, but they're not. This is going to end one way in Dallas, and it's going to be with Luka leaving.
Yeah, I think it also just shows it reeks of the desperation of the Dallas
Oh yeah,
Mavericks, right? Because for you to actually give up any type of asset for Kyrie Irving, a guy who has quit on the like he was playing with LeBron James. Which dude playing with LeBron James is like, you know what? I want out of this situation. That should have been our first telltale sign, right?
The third time that he's done this exact same thing.
But exactly it, right? So he quits on LeBron. He's like, okay, I'm out. I'm leaving. Now, we could understand, and there's all this other context about, yeah, we didn't know what LeBron was going to
Big
do.
brother, little brother.
We get all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he admitted years later that that was a huge mistake. And he shouldn't have left LeBron. So he does that. He goes to the Celtics. We get this whole spiel about him and his dad. Remember, they had the commercial of them playing on the Celtics court.
Season ticket holders, like, I'm gonna be here a long, long time.
Yes, but they had the thing with him and his dad playing one-on-one. Like, this is a homecoming. He bails on them. Remember that he's injured. They make it to the conference finals, game 7, and Kyrie doesn't even show up because he was
not even there. Nasal surgery.
Right.
Nasal surgery.
So he quits on that team the next year in the playoffs, just bails on them as well. Ends up in Brooklyn, okay? Doesn't even, gets hurt again. Kyrie now ends up not playing. If you remember going back to when the bubble occurs, and obviously there's a whole lot of other things that we don't need to get into in terms of what was going on at that time with the bubble, but Kyrie was okay to sit out, not play, and let that team with Kenny Atkinson just go down in the bubble with no, because KD was also sitting out, right? KD was hurt for the whole season after his Achilles. So you have that season where Kyrie doesn't play when maybe he could have played for that team, but wanted to wait for KD to come back. Then the following year, he ends up getting hurt in the playoffs. And then last year, we know that he played one good game in the playoffs as they got swept out by the Boston Celtics. So in total, I just want to read this tweet from Tom Haberstroh because I thought this was very interesting to sum up what could have been, or what most people I think thought was going to be, this epic run of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. Okay, this is from Tom Haberstroh. Kyrie Irving played 143 of a possible 278 regular season games during his Brooklyn Nets tenure. That's barely half. KD and Kyrie played together in 74 of a possible 206 games after KD returned from his Achilles injury. Again, 74 of a possible 2.
And that's regular season and playoffs?
Yes, they played together. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
KD, because remember, last year they got swept in 4 games, and the year before, Kyrie got hurt in the first round. Right. So even though they went 7 in the second round against the Bucks and Kevin Durant's toe on the line, Kyrie was hurt. Right. Kyrie wasn't playing in that series. So Kyrie, KD, and James Harden played 10 games. Kyrie, KD, and Ben Simmons played 24 games.
Wow.
That is insane. Imagine your whole career. You leave not only LeBron, but Kevin Durant. Like, we've joked around about this.
Not many can say that. They've done that. That's impressive.
We've joked around about this for a bit. But who is Kyrie's weed plug? Because imagine you being an NBA player and you're leaving both Kevin Durant and LeBron James. You have that on your resume. You chose to be like, you know what? I don't want to play with two.
Who else out there? Well, Luka, I guess, right? Now he's going to mess up the Luka situation too. And then he'll have 3. Then he'll have 3 of the best players going right now. LeBron, Durant, and Luka. He's going. Maybe Kyrie's just an NBA fan. He wants to see.
Is there a way this works for the Mavs?
Is there a way that it works? No, because I'd love to say that. Yeah, it could work if Kyrie sticks to his business, puts his head down, goes out night in, night out, night in, night out. He knows how to play. Obviously, he wants to play with a player like Luka Doncic. He's played with ball dominant guys before, two of the most ball dominant stars that we've had in the league.
Yeah.
Two of the biggest offensive forces. Now he's playing with another one. Yes, his skills should be able to fit in very well with what Luka and the Mavs are trying to do. Will it? No, it won't. It won't, because
The
he's going to
thing,
mess it up. He's going to say something. He's going to get pissed. Like you say, I don't see how him being in Dallas is going to work out. I don't.
the part I don't get about this, the way that this whole thing played out, right? It's just constantly one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And we don't need to get into like the nature of whether it was the anti-Semitic posts. We don't need to get
It's
into
been
like the COVID stuff.
if it was just the anti-Semitic stuff, if it was just the COVID stuff, if it was just the vaccine, we could maybe, but it's not. It's going back to the flat Earth stuff. It's going back to the even in. So I know that he broke his toe. Was it his toe or his foot in college?
It was his
Right.
toe. I'm pretty sure it was his toe. Yeah.
But even going back then, did we miss signs of what's going on now with this kind of like weird far out behavior? Because like,
I've always said this though, right? I feel like there's a lot of guys, and remember when Jimmy Butler first left your Sixers and he did an
yeah,
interview with Vinny Goodwill, and Vinny Goodwill was asking him about like, because remember there was a whole drama about Ben Simmons.
when he
And
was like, well, there's some people there that want to win, some people there that don't.
yeah, like some people are just in the NBA because they're really good at basketball. Like we
Yeah,
assume that everybody playing in the NBA wants to win
yeah,
championships, right? And some guys just like playing basketball. Would it be cool to win a championship? Cool, but like they like the things that come along with
yeah.
playing in the
Ben Simmons
NBA.
doesn't even like playing basketball.
Fair,
He doesn't
right?
even like
But
that.
like Kyrie likes the money. Kyrie likes the celebrity on his terms. He
Yeah,
likes the platform on his terms, but he
he likes
doesn't
the platform
actually
a lot.
like playing in the NBA because we've seen time and time again,
Oh,
whenever he has the opportunity.
he's been outwardly hostile to playing in the NBA.
Yeah. Like whenever there's an opportunity for him to not play, he's going to take said opportunity. And as we mentioned, leaving some pretty like great positions in terms of beside LeBron, beside KD, after you got KD to come to Brooklyn. Like it's just so interesting to me. I don't understand. And to piggyback on your point, I don't get how this could possibly work for the Mavs. Because even if you tell me that Kyrie is on his best behavior, which is a huge leap to make, right? But even if somehow, some way you talk me into that, really, Kyrie and Luka, where is that getting you in the Western Conference playoffs? Like maybe you win a round, right? Like, but that's not even a guaranteed first round win to
I,
me.
the thing is, the basketball part of it, like I can see why Dallas needed to do something, right?
Mhm.
And that West is so wide open.
Desperation, man.
That's you know what? Maybe you can't like we wouldn't have said last year that they were going to make the conference finals.
True, true.
You
And the
know, we
Mavs right now currently in sixth spot,
so
which
they're again like solidly in a playoff spot. They have
nobody is
I
solidly in a playoff spot.
okay,
Like
okay,
if
yeah,
you go
especially in the
from
West. Yeah,
yeah,
it
in
could
the
change
West, it's
overnight. It
insane.
could change
Yeah.
overnight.
And
Uh,
now
but
you're banking on Kyrie. How can
but the
you
thing
bank
is,
on
no, no, no.
Kyrie?
But you're not banking on Kyrie. You're banking on Luka.
Okay.
That
Okay.
and he's shown you he can be good enough to win you multiple playoff rounds.
Yeah. I mean, it happened. Yeah, you're right. It happened last year. We saw it. I just don't see how Kyrie Irving is conducive to winning. When has Kyrie
Oh,
Irving?
100%.
I mean, yes, we keep talking about the 2016 run with LeBron, and we know
Dude,
we saw the big shot in the
that's
finals. Like, I
6,
get all
7
that.
years ago, man. That's a long time ago.
It's
I
crazy.
was
And
still working at Sportsnet. That's how long ago it was when that happened.
it's crazy for me to think about the fact that, as you said, giving up assets for Kyrie Irving. Because if we turn this around to the Brooklyn Nets in the position that they were in this situation, right? Where again, you got to be just over the moon that this part of it, getting Kyrie Irving out of here, is over because it's been such a long and sordid saga
Mhm.
just with one thing after the next with Kyrie. And imagine you being the Brooklyn Nets and you're actually in a position where you're going to offer Kyrie Irving an extension and you're going to rightfully put in stipulations, right? Whatever they
Yeah.
are. But there has to be some stipulations like, yo, bro, you got to play X amount of games. And if you do, there's more money here for you, right? Like, imagine that. Just prove to us that you're reliable. We have to be able to have some sort of insurance that you are reliable.
Yes.
And then Kyrie's response to that is to prove why he isn't reliable.
Yeah. Like, the self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
It's like,
exactly.
what are we doing? It's crazy to me. So I don't understand it, but Mark Cuban is that kind of renegade to do that. But I'm going to ask you this question, Webby. Because of the way the deal went down, there were reportedly some other deals on the table. There was a deal from the Lakers that was supposedly on the table. There was another deal supposedly from the Suns that was on the table. How do you think the Nets did in terms of this deal where you have Kyrie Irving, you got to get rid of him, but the package you get back is highlighted by Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie and a first-round pick?
I don't think that they wanted to give it too much time. I think that the public perception of Kyrie Irving taking this to the public and saying, I want to trade, with a personality like that, they knew that the longer this got dragged out, the more some of these teams might be convinced that this isn't the fit, right? So you could try and negotiate with the Lakers to try and get two of those picks down the line, you know, the 2029 and the whatever. I think they have another one in 2027 as well, or some crazy far off picks. You can try and negotiate with the Lakers to try and get as much as you can, but then maybe this Dallas thing falls apart when Cuban, you know, somebody gets in his ear and says, what the hell are you doing? So I think that they got what is a pretty good return for Kyrie in terms of what you and I think of him, and said, let's not leave this to chance. Let's pull the trigger right now and take this good platter rather than waste time negotiating on trying to dig as deep as we can.
And just to give some more insight here, there's a report from Shams that said the Nets asked for Austin Reeves and other assets, but the Lakers never really
give up Austin Reeves, man. What?
They stayed firm with an offer of Russell Westbrook and those 2 first-round picks. So there's also the report that Nets owner Joe Tsai did not want to give, or preferred to not send Kyrie to his preferred destination, which is the Lakers. And I saw people ripping Joe Tsai for that. And I was kind of like, hold on. Why do I feel like I got to do Kyrie Irving exactly what Kyrie Irving wants me to do?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, wait, what?
The other thing is that this smacks a little bit of Durant throwing himself in front of that. I'm saying I don't want to play with Westbrook again.
Well, I feel like because there were some interesting rumors, and one of them that I thought was very interesting that I was surprised couldn't have been worked out was that there was like a 3-team deal where you add in the Jazz and maybe the Nets end up getting Mike Conley. You know, and I'm not saying that Mike Conley at this stage of his career is amazing or great or whatever, but that would have been a good, solid point guard veteran piece that if you're coming out of this Kyrie Irving situation, I would take Mike Conley, right? And you know,
I think he's one of the names
in that spot.
I think he's one of the names that's going to get moved. I think that he's somebody that I think the Jazz are going to do some selling. Like, I think that they have some players that they can move to get even more assets. We all know Danny Ainge likes as many draft picks as he can get, kind of in that same Sam Presti way. And I wouldn't be surprised if Conley was one of those names that does get moved to, I was thinking the Lakers, especially now that they didn't get Kyrie. Like, they've been looking for a guy like, you know, you hear Fred VanVleet's name tossed around with the Lakers as well. But I think if they can get a guy like Conley, that might be something that they look to do. He seems like a LeBron guy too. I don't know why. Is it the Ohio thing?
Possibly, but just a good vet too, right? I think a good vet has been through some big playoff series and stuff. Big thing, of course, staying healthy, but that's basically the whole Lakers MO at this point when you're talking about AD being involved as well. But if I'm the Nets, I think the Nets came away pretty well. I mean, and this might sound terrible.
For what they were staring down the barrel of the gun at, this is a great haul. For a guy who on Thursday said, I want to be out of here.
And Spencer Dinwiddie, and I'm gonna say this, and this might sound crazy on the surface, but follow me here.
I like it.
I would rather have Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith on my team, knowing that their percentage of playing the full season, barring injury, is
Yeah,
like 95% to
they're prof-
99%.
they're professional NBA players. They play the
Whereas,
games.
whereas
You
Kyrie is
play the
showing
game.
us, right? Kyrie is showing us there's a 50% chance he might play all the games.
I might, I might not.
Right? Like, so you could definitely talk me into, because even when my guy was playing, he would then get hurt more often than he would be healthy in his NBA career. If you go back to the start of Kyrie Irving's career, he's been injured more than he's been healthy in his NBA career. Then add in just being available to play games for an assortment of reasons. So if you're telling me Spencer Dinwiddie coming back to Brooklyn, a place where he had some success, Dorian Finney-Smith is your prototypical 3-and-D NBA guy,
It's a good
another
player.
body that
It's a
if
good player.
you're the Nets, you can throw at the Giannis's, the Chris Middletons, the Tatums, the Browns in the playoffs. I mean, and I'm getting a first-round pick for Kyrie, who, again, probably wasn't going to play the rest of his season or was going to find some other way to not play.
Well, especially too after they said these stipulations,
Mhm.
or we're not going to sign you to an extension. Of course, he wouldn't have played.
Yeah.
Why risk yourself getting hurt for your next contract?
It also tells you how
It's almost a
much
it's almost a nice thing that Kyrie did
I
was to
mean,
demand a
you're right.
trade. Pretty good
Uh,
for the Nets
the
because
other
he could
part,
have just said, "You're not going to pay me. Fuck you. I'll wait."
yeah, I mean, the other part I find very interesting about this whole thing is what's next for the Nets in terms of Kevin Durant, because I'm gonna if it's me, I'd ride out Kevin Durant this
Yeah,
season. I'm not trading KD unless he
you're a
comes to
four
me and
seed
says,
right now.
but I also think unless he comes to you and he's so irate and says, "Yo, I'm out of here," which feels like there has to be some other moving piece that would have had to take in place that we don't know about with
Mhm.
Kyrie. Because to me, if you're KD and Kyrie just ups and leaves while you're injured, while your teams are playing good, while you removed your trade demand at the start of this season and to play with Kyrie this season, right? It's just like if I'm the Nets, I'm telling Katie, listen, we got some assets now. We're gonna try to add to it at the deadline. Just stick with us, give us this season, and then we'll sort out the rest in the summer.
Yeah, but
And that would be my move because Katie's not gonna sit out. He's a hooper, right? He's
well,
not
the
gonna
other
sit
thing
out.
is, it's not like they have nothing to play for.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah,
hosting the playoff game. If playoffs were to start, they'd host.
yeah. No, you're
You
right.
know, and listen, if there's a scorer, if there's a NBA player right now who could do this, put a team like the Nets have currently on his back and
Mhm.
make a run, why isn't it Kevin Durant? The
Totally
guy's
right.
a top 20 NBA player all time. This is what he does.
So, what's the next move for KD? We talked about it from Kyrie's standpoint. He's out. He's gone to the Mavs. We've talked about it from the Nets standpoint in terms of what they were able to get for Kyrie Irving, and even talked about, okay, if you're the Nets, what you should try to do with KD. But if you're KD, what would your move be? If you are Kevin Durant right now, what would you want to do?
Well, I think that the organization has shown you loyalty already. You
Okay.
came out about the like that whole trade demand thing before the season and Steve Nash leaving and now Kyrie. It's they obviously take into account Kevin's opinion and they do that in a serious way.
Mhm.
So if I were him, I don't know where else you'd go where you're going to have that much organizational input, right? If you go back to the Warriors, it's the same problem. It's Steph's team. If you go to
That's Steph's
Phoenix,
hurt.
and if you go to Phoenix, it's like they got a brand new owner. It's but with the Nets, it seems like it's Kevin's team. It's Durant's team. So I think if I were him, I would see where this season takes you, play as hard as you can, and you're Kevin Durant. You're gonna invite other players to come play with you. People are gonna want to play with Durant. You may not be able to do that right now. You might be able to do that right now and try and swing some of these names that are around to build your roster. Why not be more aggressive if you're the Nets and Kevin Durant? I
I
don't.
s-
I read these things like, oh, where's Kevin Durant going to go? Why would he go anywhere?
Yeah. If you tell me the Nets have some assets, the Nets have some picks, they'll have some
They're in a
cap
good
space.
spot.
Why not try to figure out a way that you can build around KD and figure out how to bring in some other stars? Like, imagine if somehow they're like, and I mean, this might be a nice segue into talking about the Raptors here, but imagine if you were able to pull off and get Fred VanVleet right now, right? Give up a couple assets and get you a starting point
Yeah.
guard that could really, really help your team and be like, he's a good locker room guy. He's a gamer. He's playoff ready and all that fun stuff. But in terms of a point guard to what Ben Simmons is not, but even Kyrie was not, right? Just a point guard being able to like move the ball around and
Yeah.
set your team up and all that.
Get Durant in the right spots where he likes it.
It's so interesting to me. And as we kind of switch gears here to the Raptors and their trade deadline preview, I mean, there's an interesting tie-in here because obviously, if we remember this past summer, which I really wish we had the pod up and running then when this whole Scotty Barnes is untouchable in any Kevin Durant.
Can't trade Scotty. Listen, I know that Kevin Durant's out there, but you'd be a fool to trade Scotty Barnes for him. Like
what?
What? What? What?
I just remember it was
Toronto men's was out there, bro. Like you can't trade Scotty. It's like, are you kidding?
It was so interesting to me. It was a great time in Raptors Twitter when people were fighting for why you can't trade. I think in the summertime I put out there, would you trade Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., and OG and whatever picks, right? Like who knows, whatever picks.
However many picks would
for Kevin Durant. So people are like, nah, that's too much. I'm like, what are you guys like? What are we on right now? I really don't understand. But anyways, this brings us back to the Raptors trade deadline preview and months later, where I'm not saying that same fake trade is on the table. But what I am saying is I'm pretty sure people's perception of what they would give up for Kevin Durant is probably a little different now. So I'm going to ask you, you look at the Raptors team, and right now they're in the headlines. You got Fred VanVleet's name in the headlines. You got OG Anunoby's name in the headlines. Gary Trent Jr., a little bit of Pascal Siakam, a little bit of Nick Nurse. But what do you make of this Raptors situation right now?
I think that Scotty Barnes went from untouchable in one way before the summer to now pretty much untouchable in another way. Like he's one of few names that you don't hear with this Raptors team being moved. And honestly, it would be the smartest thing for the Raptors. And listen, Masai's a great negotiator, and I'm sure he will get the most back for these players. But it's going to be maybe a tough pill to swallow to see, two, if not three of those names that you mentioned walk out the door.
So I feel like this should be an important time for me to update this here. This from Woj, okay, as we're recording this pod.
Did this just happen? Is this something?
So this is from like 18 minutes ago, okay?
Okay.
It says ESPN sources, Nets and Mavs trade still hasn't been made official with league office because the Nets are evaluating opportunities to expand deal with the third team. Teams are expected to make a two-way deal official in the next couple of hours unless the Nets find something bigger to fold into. Many conversations in the league are going through one team today, the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, Kyrie to the Raps?
No, whoa. I don't think Masai's on that wave at all.
No, let's hope not.
Unless there's someone, because there could be a thing where you take on Kyrie and you buy him out and let him just go wherever he wants. But
right.
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing that's possible. But added on to that, the Mavs understand Brooklyn exploring ways for the Nets to expand the deal, but Dallas needs a deal done today. Plan is for Kyrie Irving to join the team in LA for practice tomorrow and play Wednesday versus the Clippers. So
they're putting a deadline on it.
Yeah, this leads us perfectly into talking about the Toronto Raptors, because what would you make of this Raptors team right now? You just talked to me about Scotty Barnes, and I think that is a great point about all these other names are being thrown out there. And if you're having a rebuild, obviously Scotty Barnes, the reigning rookie of the year, is a guy that you would want to rebuild around.
Yeah.
Totally get that. Totally understand that. I gotta say, and I've been on this train for the last couple weeks when the Fred VanVleet slander was at its highest point. I really hope that Fred VanVleet doesn't get traded, but I understand why it could happen. But the disrespect of Fred VanVleet on the way out, I was not here for any of that. People were talking so greasy about Fred VanVleet because like he wasn't shooting well for like 2 months of the season or whatever it was, when like not everything is about a statistic. This is why I miss this pod so much of being able to talk about basketball, because I feel like we forget sometimes that not like statistics tell you a little bit, but you got to remember there's a whole other side to the game that a shooting stat is not telling you about. And
Right.
that part was so tough for me to hear, just a slander being thrown at Fred VanVleet when the Raptors were running a new offense. You're trying to incorporate all these guys. Like, I don't know, man. I found that part tough. And I would want to keep Fred VanVleet because I feel like you need leadership in your locker room. Whatever the next iteration is of this team, Fred is a guy in the locker room that holds that all together. I feel like as bad as people think this Raptors season is going right now, if it wasn't for Fred VanVleet being their leader, it's scary to think where it might be
It could
without
be
him.
well, I see, this is the thing. I don't think it could be much worse. I think that the Raptors are in the worst possible position.
The middle?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's no fault. I completely understand what you're saying with Van Vliet, and a guy like Fred has garnered so much respect throughout the league, and what he's brought to the Raptors is undefinable. And for you to get on him and chuck him out of town for 2 months of bad shooting almost like ignores what he means to the franchise from the championship season and what he's done the last couple of years as well, which has really become a premier point guard in the league. Like, Fred is awesome, and that's why he's garnering so much attention. So I do agree with you, but on the other hand, this needs to get worse for the Raptors.
Can
And
I
if
just
it
say,
you
yeah,
you just
mhm.
don't want to be where Toronto is right now.
Yeah, and you're right. They're in the middle, and it's a worse place you want to be in the NBA. And as Masai Ujiri has said a bunch of times, play in for what, right? Like, and my fear watching this Raptors team right now, everyone's talking about tank, 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 when really they're like what, a half game out of 10th place, which would be the play in, which nobody really wants to do. Right. Like, if we're being honest, other than the business people, well, not even the business people, because you won't even have a home game if you're in 10th.
No.
Right. So I guess you'd
And you
have
want
to
to talk
then,
about an NBA TV game.
well, you're in 10th.
Raptors in the plan.
Maybe you win the play in and then you get 2 home playoff dates in the first round against whoever's in first, and you get slapped up at, I don't know. I just don't think that's a place the Raptors want to be in. But literally, as we're recording this podcast, Mark Stein is saying among the possibilities for expanding the Kyrie Irving to Dallas trade before
What?
this evening's scheduled trade call, league sources say that Brooklyn has explored the feasibility of packaging Spencer Dinwiddie and draft capital to Toronto in an attempt to acquire Fred VanVleet. I swear to you, I did not read that before we just talked about it.
What about
And that
the
is
Nets?
insane.
Nets also
Mhm.
have Siakam interest too.
Yes. Also from Mark Stein. The Nets have also been described to me as a team with Pascal Siakam interest, although the signals entering the final week of the trade season have reflected a reluctance from Toronto to this point to make Siakam available. So lots going on within the NBA circle in the Toronto Raptors. And to me, I get it. If you're going to keep someone, you keep Pascal. I get that. You're going to try to keep Pascal and Scotty Barnes and build around that, I guess. OG Anunoby is a guy whose name has been up in trade talks for a while. OG Anunoby has also been a topic for discussion for us in our many iterations of this podcast.
Because of scars.
I don't get it. I don't get OG Anunoby. I think he's an
Just
all right player.
as a basketball player, as like a person.
Sure, you
as
could
an
take me as a person
entity,
too. Do you feel like you know anything about OG
as
Anunoby? He
an
doesn't really
entity.
talk much. He's quiet. You ask him questions, he gives like weird answers all the time. And now people are telling me you can get like 3 first round
Three
picks for
first
OG
round
Anunoby.
picks. I
Like, miss
know.
me with that. That makes no sense. Who's giving up 3 first round picks for OG Anunoby?
And it's like I was reading that New Orleans doesn't want Memphis to get him, and Memphis doesn't want New Orleans to get him, and so they're bidding each other up. It's
I
like
don't know, man. It's so
over
crazy.
OG Anunoby. I mean, he made the big shot in the bubble.
Okay. He hit
He
one
is a
shot. Yeah.
great defender.
Cool.
He's a baller. I don't know. The scarves was funny. I think his whole thing is that he doesn't emote, which is funny to me.
So hold on. Who actually want okay, OG Anunoby, right? So if first off, if you're able to
Listen,
get
okay, here's
one,
what OG
if you're able to
Anunoby is.
get 1 first round pick for OG, I'm in on that. I don't
Yeah,
understand
100%.
what everybody is talking
OG,
about here.
OG, OG. Uh, here's what OG Anunoby can do. He can defend and he can hit threes.
Which is a
Sometimes
great 2
that's what
great
you want.
skills in the NBA. Yeah.
It's what you want. Is it
Mhm.
3 first rounders? If you're Masai Ujiri, maybe it is. I don't know. If that happens, that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally
Incredible.
agree. Totally agree. I think that, OG Anunoby, the I forget who tweeted this.
Do you think that Kyrie Irving's deal changes that at all?
Ooh. I mean,
I
it
know
is
that
kind of
there are
weird.
weird, obviously weird circumstances with Kyrie,
Mhm.
right? It's almost like a distressed asset, right? Like
Not almost.
it's the most distressed asset ever.
Right?
But does
Yeah.
that bring the price for OG down or keep it the same? Is what I'm wondering.
I'm just totally confused about OG Anunoby. It's so strange to me. And like I guess living in this world of Twitter where you don't have to follow people to actually see what they're tweeting. Like in this Twitter algorithm world where if you talk about the Raptors or you talk about the Sixers, you then will get tweets from other people talking about those things, even if you don't follow them.
Mhm.
So I see a lot of people talking about OG Anunoby and about, being this piece of a championship team and all this stuff and how you don't want to give them up. And I find that so interesting as if people don't remember the Raptors won a championship without him, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand that he is a solid player. I think he's pretty good, but we've kind of seen what OG Anunoby is at this point. And do you want to pay big bucks for that going forward as he's going to command a new contract soon? I don't think so. So if you're telling me you can get first round picks or multiple first round picks for OG, sign me up for that. The other thing I want to bring up to you, because I feel like this whole point needs to be connected somehow. And one thing we like to do is connect dots here on the pod. And I'm not trying to tell you that this is the answer for sure. I'm just trying to point out the information that we know, and you can
Okay.
make the conclusion that you
And
want
I can
yourself.
draw my own lines on the board on the ticky tack board.
So I'm going to paint this for you, okay, Mr.
Okay,
Webster. We
hit me.
know that American outlets understand how Twitter algorithms work, and if you use the Toronto Raptors or even the Toronto Blue Jays as an example, right? If you match up that fan base and you compare it to American markets, where does Toronto rank in terms of fan interaction just because of size in comparison to, let's say, LA teams, right? Which really like it's more than the Clippers. So really you're talking about the Lakers, you're talking about the Knicks. It's going to be more than Brooklyn because nobody really cares about the Brooklyn Nets, right? You care about
Right,
KD. It's not like there's Brooklyn Nets fans. But if
right.
I'm a writer for the NBA, I know that when I put out Raptors news, right, my shit gets a lot of traction, right? That is a fact. That's not like some hyperbole. That's not
Right.
anything. You think about it from a market size, Raptors fans and engagement on Twitter is going to be more than maybe there's probably going to be what, four,
Yeah,
maybe
Nick.
five other fan bases in the entire league.
I would
That's
say
for one.
top 5. Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave that one there with you. Okay. That's one.
Okay.
Two, who are the names that you see out there the most in terms of, I mean, even if I say the Raptors, but also the NBA, We're going to say Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby,
Yeah.
Gary Trent Jr. We also then started to get a sprinkle of Nick Nurse's name out there.
Like
I'm going to
traded
ask
at
you.
the deadline?
I'm just saying. No. Just Nick Nurse talked. If you did, Shams put out an article last week talking about, in case you didn't realize, Nick Nurse's contract, and he makes $8 million a year, and magically we're finding out all this information about Nick Nurse. Why is this all of a sudden in the headlines? I don't really understand. Wait, what's a connection here? Well, there's a connection that these guys are all in the Raptors organization, but is there any other ties here? Wait, hold on. Who is OG Anunoby repped by? Clutch Sports. Wait a second. Who is Gary Trent Jr. repped by? Hold on. Clutch Sports. Okay. Fred VanVleet recently left his agent and is rumored to be potentially siding with who?
Clutch Sports.
Clutch Sports. Who is Nick Nurse repped by?
Clutch Sports.
There we go. What do we know that Clutch Sports is the best at doing? Getting the Shams, who also is repped by who?
Clutch Sports.
I mean, are there any
professional basketball teams that have, let's say, very, very close ties with the folks at Clutch Sports? Is there one team or maybe one entity in the NBA that you know of that's very, very connected to Clutch Sports? Is there a name or
the Lakers? We always hear a bunch of Lakers information somehow.
Is there somebody in particular on the Lakers who's really connected to Clutch Sports?
Oh, that would be LeBron James.
Okay.
And Anthony Davis. My point of bringing all this stuff up is you see the narrative. We've seen this before to where something gets turned into a reality because one thing that Clutch Sports is really good at is playing the agent and public game. There's going to be a lot of interviews. There's going to be a lot of just Shams magically coming up with information involving Clutch clients. And I'm just putting this information out there. You can connect the dots to whatever you want. I'm just making the link that I don't think that it's a coincidence that we're hearing about all these names. They're all linked to Clutch Sports as we head towards the trade deadline. I find this all extremely, extremely fascinating. And
I was going to say, is there another team that's looking to be very active at the trade deadline and has one of their biggest stars come out on social media, even today, and given an interview about the organization and being active on the trade deadline?
Oh, that would also be LeBron.
That would be LeBron James.
That would be LeBron James. Yeah. So I'm just saying to keep all of that in mind as between now and the Thursday trade deadline, you're going to keep hearing more info about the Toronto Raptors, these key players on the Toronto Raptors, because where are Woj and Shams getting their information from? Clutch Sports.
When Russell Westbrook suits up for the Toronto Raptors,
wow,
do you buy a jersey? Do you buy a game worn, or are you more of a like kind of a Modell's? Just kind of.
I can't lie to you. If Russ did get traded, if Russ did get traded to the Raptors, I might have to do it for the culture, man. I might have to get a Russ jersey for the culture because everyone's going to be mad at Russ, but I'll be here to support Russ.
The lone voice. The lone voice.
What kind of person would I be? What kind of person would I be if I jumped off the Russ bandwagon? I can't do that.
Especially when it comes to town. When it pulls up at Union Station.
Can't do it. But I do want to say this as we kind of transition into our Ask on Blast segment where we talk about things kind of not really
tangentially related.
It's more about the culture, we'll say. But we mentioned Clutch Sports, and the head of Clutch Sports happens to be a man named Rich Paul.
And can we give it up? I know a lot of people had good nights last night at the Grammys.
Yes.
I think.
Hold on. For those who might not be aware, though, who is the head of Clutch Sports?
It's just Rich Paul.
And why are you talking about the Grammys and Rich Paul? What am I missing here? Explain it to the people that might not be familiar.
Because Rich Paul, I what do you call like grabbing onto the glow up and just
Oh,
being a part of history? I mean, the
hmm,
man already, listen, Rich Paul unassailable, but the glow up ride that he's on with Adele is unbelievable.
yeah.
She is. I always thought Adele was a dime. That's just the kind
Okay.
of guy just the kind of
Okay.
guy I am.
Okay.
But now this woman is stunning.
Okay.
Stunning. Very attracted to Adele. No lie.
Okay.
And Rich Paul is getting it done.
So for those who might not be aware, Rich Paul, the head of Clutch Sports, Rich Paul was LeBron's agent. As the story goes, Rich Paul and LeBron met as 20-year-olds. Rich Paul selling Mitchell and Ness jerseys out of his trunk. He is a go-getter. He is that dude. He's a businessman. Okay.
Yeah.
Him and LeBron meet. They take a liking to each other. Rich Paul then becomes part of the inner circle with Mav Carter and LeBron's crew, or as Phil Jackson so famous or infamously called them, his posse. Ugh. Yeah. Anyways, that was a joke, by the way, for the people that can't see us on the pod, which happens to be on YouTube. I
we were
never
tugging
mentioned that.
collars. We were tugging
Yes,
collars. Yeah.
we're mocking that for people
Yeah.
who might
We
be
were
too
mocking
serious
Phil.
here.
If you didn't know already that we were mocking
Exactly.
Phil Jackson.
And so Rich Paul and LeBron now takes him under a wing, gets him to intern under LeBron's current agent at that time when he was with the Cavs, works closely with that agent. I'm pretty sure it was Leon Rose, if I have
I
that
think it was Leon
correctly.
Rose, yeah.
But I could have that wrong. I don't remember. Come on, brains of mush. But the point is, Rich
So
Paul
long ago.
being groomed under LeBron's agent at the time, then learns the tricks of the trade, and they start their own agency, which is called Clutch Sports. And now is one of the most powerful agencies, not only in the NBA, but in sports. So Clutch Sports now, as you mentioned, Rich Paul, the head guy, LeBron's agent, is now dating Adele. That is an amazing come up. That might be
just killing it in all aspects. Adele just farts and everybody's like, give this woman 200 Grammys.
Listen, if you were watching the Grammys last night and you saw Adele and her boyfriend sitting beside her, that is Rich Paul. The fun joke when The Rock came over and The Rock was joking around because Trevor Noah made a joke early on in the night about how Adele mentioned before that she wanted to meet The Rock, but she never got to meet The Rock. And then The Rock comes over to the table and says hi to her, and they meet. Ha ha ha! Joke, joke, joke. Rich Paul then joking around because imagine how that would be. Like your girl said wants to meet The Rock, and this was years before you were even together, and now here's The Rock. But they made a joke out of it. There's a pretty funny picture of Rich Paul pretending to punch The Rock, which obviously is hilarious. But I tweeted this last night. Please tell me who is the American dream more so than Rich Paul. That is a come up of all come ups. He is a real American dream. That is a great story.
Absolutely. The guy's success story, selling Kevin McHale jerseys out of the back of his truck to now getting the best seat at the Grammys and pretending to punch The Rock.
Amazing.
It's awesome. Amazing. It's awesome. And just Adele, again, we've got it once again. The woman is just, she could use me as floss. Oh,
jeez.
Just unreal.
So a quick Grammys recap. What stood out to you the most? Hey, not mad at the accent at all. Quick Grammys recap. What stood out to you the most? Because as you mentioned Adele, because people watching for me is the most fun part of seeing who's in the crowd and what's going on. And as much as we enjoyed seeing Adele and Rich Paul, and who else? Lizzo was at their table.
Lizzo was at the table too.
The opposite can be said for Taylor Swift, who has to just be trolling us now, right? Like that can't be her real moves. It can't be like she's trolling us, right?
You were saying your favorite part of it. My favorite part of the Grammy is especially, and we're gonna get to the amazing hip hop medley that they did, but is all the crowd reactions of the music and the celebrities dancing.
Shania Twain was having a great time.
Listen, Shania, you want to talk about a glow up? Let's talk about Shania. She is Canadian songbird, looking great. out here.
Yes,
She's got to
yes,
be in
yes,
her
yes.
50s, man. She is just holy listen. So when they show the crowd and the crowd's like, yeah, I just let's like just give me a camera on Taylor Swift at all times for the cringe,
Yeah. It
for the
is
cringe because
hilarious to
it's
see.
embarrassing. So last night I didn't even know the Grammys were happening. I didn't even know it was on.
How did you stumble upon it?
I put my daughter down to bed. I got my wife is a teacher. I got her all situated with her shows, and then I went to go just watch some TV. I fired up. There wasn't. I mean, all the sports had kind of ended now. It was depressing, right? The final Sunday before the Super Bowl. I'm just channel surfing around, and I hear, oh shit, the Grammys are on. Let me put it on, just as that hip hop medley is starting.
Yep.
And that was I don't watch much of I used to watch the Grammys every year. I still love music, all kinds of music, but that hip hop medley is why you tune in. That was so cool and really went from, and we'll get to it, went from like the beginnings of the genre in like the
Mhm.
late 70s, early 80s, all the way up to today. It hit pretty much everybody that you would think that it would touch on. I mean, other
Yeah.
than Jay-Z, but Jay-Z was in the audience, you know?
Yeah.
The only thing is, I thought maybe Snoop would come out too. I thought Snoop was definitely, but I think it seemed a little more. Well, not because Too Short was there screaming,
Yeah. Too
"Bitch!"
Short. Yo, Too Short
Blow the
got me hype.
whistle,
I was not
blow the
expecting
whistle
that at
came
all.
out, and everybody our age was like, just yelled "bitch" at their TV. Why they got to
As it
say
was
it like
bleeped out.
Short?
As
Bitch.
it was bleeped out. Oh, it was
Yeah,
so
exactly.
amazing.
The other great bleeping was I know you love this track as well, but that Lock song that they played
Oh, we go
with
make it. We
and
go make
I'm
it.
like, who are they? Because I couldn't really see. They're bleeping out the entire first line of the song. Oh, yeah, I know why now. That's my favorite shit. Uh, uh, but then we got to
Uh,
the new, like, we get to the Queen Latifah, and it's great. And the rappers,
yeah.
Busta Rhymes is doing his crazy fast rapping thing, which I tweeted was awesome to see live because you hear
Yeah.
it on record. And how does he do that? But they get to the new guys. I don't know. Was that Lil Baby?
I'm gonna be honest. So
I
yes,
didn't
again,
know.
it was a
Was
50-year
it?
anniversary of hip hop performance, and they had, to mention just a few, and I give them credit for. I think it was LL in his intro saying, "Listen, if we
LL was great.
forgot anybody, like we're not trying to get every single big person out
Yeah.
there, so don't knock us if there's someone missing or whatever." But they had from Run DMC, LL, Salt and Pepper, Ice T, Queen Latifah, Wu
Rakim.
Tang, Big Boy. Which where was Andre? That
I
threw
know.
me off. That was kind of weird. Busta, um, Missy, Nelly,
Yeah,
which was kind
Missy.
of weird to me. Like, okay, so
It's
when this
all
was
right.
on,
I
here's the
get it.
thing.
I get it. Nelly
So
is huge,
here's the
man.
thing. I'm not mad at Nelly. Okay, I've had this moment twice actually, where it's like,
Of people
okay,
coming to Nelly's defense, like,
no, no,
how
no.
dare
I
you? First of all,
Nelly
how dare you? EI is still a jam.
I'm not denying Nelly, and maybe I don't know what it is. I can't fully describe it, but I had the exact same feeling a couple years ago at OVO Fest, and Nelly came out. And I had a familiar feeling last night while watching this ode to hip hop, where it's like,
Nelly,
okay,
huh?
I get it,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I needed Nelly in this point. Like I
Nelly.
get it,
Yeah.
Hot and Her, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Moment in Time,
Yeah.
Nelly had bangers, Nelly had crossover appeal, but
Yeah.
I didn't need to
Can't
see
get
Nelly.
50.
Does that make
Can't get
sense?
50. Can't get 50, but you got Nelly, huh?
Well, there's people who would just be too big time that they're like, I'm not coming to do a medley. Like, Eminem's not doing that. Drake's not doing that.
No.
Right? Like, there are people
But
who
that's why I
feel,
thought we might see. That's why I thought 50 would be there. It seemed like something he'd do.
yeah, that'd be interesting for sure. I thought it was
Was there
good, but
anybody? Was there?
hold on, after the locks, I didn't know anybody. I like, was that
Um,
Uzi Vert? Was that your guy?
Uzi Vert, yeah, Philly
Okay.
guy, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought so, but I wasn't positive. The
He's a weird
Lils, I
looking
struggle with
guy.
the Lils. I'm
I
not gonna lie
struggle
to
with
you.
the babies. I struggle with the babies. There's the baby and there's little baby. And there's baby. I know baby. I'm kind of familiar with the baby. He's the one that got in trouble. And now
Yeah.
there's Lil Baby.
Yeah,
And then there's Cardi B and there's Playboy Cardi. I'm so old now. Shelly, I'm too old. It's like
Well,
honestly though, so was there somebody there? Who would you have had?
So hold on. I said that I tweeted this last night, but I loved the amazing ode to hip hop. But with it came the sobering reality that we are now the
We're
old people
old. We're
watching
old.
and actually
Who?
enjoying the Grammys.
Yes,
That was a
that's a good point.
sobering reality to me last night where I
Woo,
was like, oh man,
cool.
that was amazing. And I was like, wait, hold on a second
Oh,
here. And you know what it was? It was when they gave the award to Dr. Dre. So they had this like brand new award that was honoring like black music. And the first honoree was Dr. Dre. And I was sitting there and I said to my girl, I was like, if you were gonna do this and it was the first one, wouldn't you go to like Motown or something? Like Dr. Dre wasn't that long ago. And then I paused and was like, that's over 20 years ago. That
fucking
is a long
20
time
years ago, you shit.
ago, right? Like, oh man,
The
what
no,
just
the one
happened
that I
here?
thought it was that was funny is that like I'm watching it right, and it's like LL Cool J and Ice T, and it's like, God damn, how many of these guys are on fucking detective shows on TV? Fuck,
SVU or
yeah,
whatever. I don't know.
shit.
NCIS, is that
Keep
still a
getting those
thing?
checks, Ice T. Keep doing it.
Yes, I
It's
love
the
it.
longest running hour long show. LL Cool J, NCIS. My
So
parents
good.
know who you are, and
So good.
they're in their 70s.
So I got to give a
Is there
shout
any
out to Mary J. Mary J still out here cooking in
a queen, a
2023.
queen, a queen,
Woo!
unassailable,
That song, that Good
unassailable.
Morning Gorgeous song. Woo!
Yeah, yeah.
Soulful, Mary. Soulful. But of course,
Um,
Jay, like
why wasn't Jay up there? That's my
because Jay
question.
vowed to perform Jay was performing at the end. He knew he had his 5-minute verse from God did coming up. So that's what he saved it for. He was gonna
Can
he's
you
gonna be in the crowd licking off shots. And,
can you get up there and give me a little money cash hose just for old time's sake?
well, what would the Jay song have been? Hard
Oh,
Knock Life? Like because everyone basically came out, gave like
with their
a bar
song. I knew
of
the
their
New York
song.
one. He probably
Oh
would.
yeah, Empire State of Mind, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess so.
You're
But
not
nobody
gonna
wanted to
get
see that. It was
you're
way
not gonna
better
get
seeing the
20
performance.
you're not gonna get 22 twos, like you're not gonna
Ooh.
get
I
you're
still
not gonna
stand
get
by it. I think it
deep
might still
cut.
be on YouTube, but if you've never seen the B-sides concert from Jay, I'm
Oh
pretty sure that's
no.
on YouTube. Ooh,
Oh
that
cool.
is a show. It's called the
That's
B-sides. So it's all the songs that like you rock to and bump to, but he would never perform at a show.
right, right.
He
He needs
performed at a show.
more more people need to do that shit.
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing, amazing show. But let's talk about this how they wrapped up the Grammys with at the very end, album of the year. We don't need to argue about that. We'll save that to Twitter as a beehive just savages anybody who
Who
beats
did she
Beyonce.
win? I don't even know. I turned it off after the
Harry
no,
Styles ended up
I
winning
watched
album of the year.
I watched Adele win, and that's when I saw Rich
Rich
Paul,
Paul.
and when I was also like, oh, Adele, all right. Okay.
So
So
so album of the
Styles,
year went to Harry Styles.
Beyonce, and Lizzo, and anybody was I don't know. Like I
Yeah,
really
I
like
don't
the
know.
new Lil Yachty album. Was that?
Nah.
No, that wasn't
So
nominated
they
for
wrap
anything.
up the
West
Grammys.
Side Gun? Did West Side Gun get nominated for anything?
No. Come on,
No.
buddy.
See, like
Come on, boy.
then the award show is nil.
Well, they closed it out on a high with DJ Khaled's track God Did. They
Yeah.
shut down the street outside the Staples Center. They had basically they had this beautiful, beautiful setup, right? Of basically like the Last Supper, right? And it's God Did performed by Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and Jay-Z's 5-minute verse, just sitting at this table. And it was maybe the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was so
And
good. And I mean, I'm a Jay fan, so it's not
yeah,
like I'm gonna
you're in the bag. You're in the
yeah,
bag.
yeah, like I'm gonna obviously think it was the most incredible thing I've seen in a very, very, very long time. But I just thought like everything about it was so dope. Jay's bars, because he's talking about look at what his career is, and the whole verse is talking about his life on the streets and how they were able to flip that into what it is now. And you're at this table with legends performing an 8-minute song to close out the Grammys. Who could have saw that? 50 years of hip hop. Who could have saw that? It
Well,
was just an amazing performance. That song is dope. It's
you talk
amazing.
about even 20 years ago, something like that would not close out the Grammys.
Yeah.
You know, you might get a Jay-Z performance, but it's going to be like the second or third one of the night.
Yeah.
But now he is the guy that can close an event like that.
A
But we've
se-
known that about Jay for however long, you know?
an
It's
8-minute
nothing new to
performance.
people like you and me. And I don't even know how overreaching the Grammys are nowadays, but you're right. It's like, you know, when we were kids, it was like fucking Barry Manilow closing the Grammys or whatever. And now we're old and it's
This
Jay-Z.
guy said Barry
I
Manilow.
don't know. Fuck.
I would just like to say, as Jay-Z, aka Sean Carter, said last night, these ain't songs, these is hymns, because I'm him. Close quote. Bars. That
Loving
song
your
is so
Jay.
fire. The song is so fire.
Does
The
he
full
release
performance is
another
on
album?
Twitter.
Is he what's
Mm,
going on? Is there another Jay-Z album in the
I
works?
doubt it. I doubt it. Why? Just feature on
There's no
tracks and
point.
smash it.
And he's always been the best featuring on other tracks as well. It's
Yeah, like that
like you
song
said
God
about
did
it.
is so good. Like we tolerate DJ Khaled.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's how good that song is. I could go on for hours and hours, obviously, talking about Jay-Z's performance and God Did and how amazing that song is and the performance was, and the Last Supper, and how last night I spent so much time trying to find the full performance on Twitter, only now to find it hours later when I really wanted to watch it over and over again last night. But anyway, story for another day. We'll move on. Two, the last thing we want to talk about on this pod, Ask on Blast segment. I'm just basically going to turn this over to you because the Super Bowl is this week. For those who might not know, on the same feed, you will find our NFL picks. That pod will drop probably on Wednesday. So stay tuned for my full, Super Bowl breakdown with our guy Matt Russell and all that. But in terms of our Ball on Blast pod, Mr. Andrew Webster, noted Philly dude, I'm just going to let you go, man.
There's only one quarterback out there. Only one quarterback that's going to be playing on
Mhm.
Sunday
Mhm.
that can squat 600 goddamn pounds. They talk about Joe Burrow being Joe Cool. Get that shit out of here. Jalen Hurts is the coolest athlete on planet Earth. This man is cool, calm, collected. He's the strongest motherfucker on the gridiron. And you're going to tell me that I should be afraid of the Chiefs? Bart Scott said they can't stop a nosebleed. The Chiefs can't stop our offensive line. The Chiefs can't stop Jalen Hurts. San Francisco 49ers, the best defense in the country, didn't do shit. They got 38 points put up on them. You got a last name of a Bosa, you got abused by Philadelphia. Brother got abused by the fans. Other brother got abused by the team. We're coming for the mom, the dad, the sister next. You're a
Listen,
Bosa. Get the fuck out of here. Bro, this is the Philadelphia Eagles winning a Super Bowl for the second time in 5 years. Carson Wentz, get him out. Nick Foles, Big Dick Nick, thanks, man. Dougie P, what a legend. The Philly special, hey, Doug P, all the best in Jacksonville. You know I love Trevor Lawrence. Guy's got the flow that I wish I had. Dougie P's going to do great. But Howie, he did it again. He reloaded. He didn't rebuild, he reloaded. Came back with an even better team. Who's going to trade A.J. Brown? You have A.J. Brown on your team. You're going to trade him? Great. We'll take him. We'll pay him $100 million. We got the best pass rusher in the game, Hassan Reddick. Where's he from, Shelly? Where's Hassan Reddick from? Where's he from?
I don't know, man.
From
I'm
North
not paying.
Philadelphia.
Sure.
He's
Sure,
from
man.
North Philadelphia.
Don't
He's a
involve
local
me. Don't
guy.
involve me in your Philly.
You
Listen,
don't
I'm still a
listen.
Niners fan,
You
okay?
see
Don't involve
Hassan
me in your
Reddick in your
Phillies.
nightmares.
No.
Hassan Reddick took the marrow out of fucking Brock Purdy's elbow, and he fucking snorted it.
All right. Listen. Okay, I let you go. I let you have your Philly say and all that. I'm not even going to get into that Niners game and what would have happened.
38-14 Eagles. 38-14 Eagles.
Even if we just
It's
had Jimmy
over. It'll be
Garoppolo,
over
that
at
game goes
halftime.
different. Even if that game was Jimmy Garoppolo, that game goes different. But that's a story for another day.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to stop us from scoring 38 points? Is that
He might
would
stop our
he
defense from being on the field for the entire game
would
because you
he
could only
stop
run the ball because you didn't have a
would
healthy
he s-
quarterback.
would
Like,
he
what are we
stop
talking about right now?
would he
No,
stop the offensive
I'm
line
not falling
pushing the
for this.
ball down
You're
your throat?
suckering me into this right now.
Would Jimmy Garoppolo tackle Kenneth Gainwell? Because I didn't see anybody else on your team tackling Kenneth Gainwell.
So the spread right now is Philadelphia favored by 1.5 in the
It's
Super
crazy.
Bowl. We already know who your pick is. For my pick, I'm going to leave this as a bit of a tease for our NFL pod
That's good
will drop
broadcasting.
later on this
That's
week.
good broadcasting.
I'll leave that for a tease, but I feel like if you follow me on Twitter, or I feel like if you've listened to me talk about your Philadelphia Eagles,
Yeah,
you
and
kind of know which way I'm
how
leaning
butthurt
here.
you are. Listen, take the emotion out of it.
It's not about, hold on.
I
It's not
know
about,
I know you felt the pain. The salt was. I was getting dehydrated reading your tweets. They were so salty. My blood
oh,
pressure started to go up. That's how salty your tweets were.
why is it got to be salty? Why can't it just be factual information
So
that
mad.
you had
Why do you have
major
to be?
flags that
Why do you have to be
extended
so
like
mad?
however many drives? Wait,
Red
I'm not getting
flag.
sucked into. I'm not. Why am I getting
Red
sucked into this? I'm
flag.
not doing this. No, I'm not
I
doing
saw
this.
yellow flags of your sorry ass defense committing penalties on every play.
I'm not getting sucked into this. You're trying to suck me into this right now, and I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
Red
Can't do it.
flags, red
Can't do
flags
it.
like the bonehead challenges that Andy Reid is fixing. I was texting with a mutual friend of ours who's a big Chiefs fan.
Yep.
And I said, that red challenge flag is going to be coming out in that first half on a very, very dubious spot that he's going to lose on. And boom, there go one of your timeouts. Just get ready for that. It's going to happen.
Listen, man.
Andy Reid was our coach for a long time. I know how it goes.
Listen, man.
But now we got
can't wait. I think it's
Sirianni.
going to be.
What up, Sirianni? What up?
Okay, you look like you're doing your Sirianni impression right now with the headset on. Like, get that guy off my screen first off.
What
But
a goon.
I'll say this much.
Goon.
I'll say this much, okay? Super Bowls should be a great game. I will say that I was stunned by the line because I don't understand. Like, giving me the Chiefs at plus money to win the Super Bowl with Patty Mahomes.
1.5.
Let's go. Plus money on the money line for the Chiefs. Let's go.
We're going to beat him by 2 scores. It's going to be ugly.
Listen to this guy.
Have you seen the Chiefs play defense? Especially against running quarterbacks.
Okay, we get it. We get it. Webster is definitely on the Philadelphia Eagles. We will be back to discuss this and probably more Eagles wins or losses next week at some point. We'll talk about whatever happened on the trade deadline and all that other fun stuff as well. I got to say, though, tune in. I got to remember this because I'm trying to switch gears from like the host part of this to actually the producer part, buzzing into the ear of the host and be like, don't forget to promo the next pod. Don't forget to promo the next pod. So for people, don't worry. The NFL Picks pod is coming later on this week. It will be there. Matt Russell will join me and we will break down top to bottom everything you need to know about the Super Bowl. I will give you my pick, who I'm leaning towards for said Super Bowl, as again, we sit just on fuego fire this year with our picks against the spread on this On Blast Podcast Network. So really appreciate you rocking with me here, Mr. Webster, on this pod as we bring back the Ball on Blast podcast to coincide with the end of the NFL season. More content for your head top here from the On Blast Podcast Network. But if people want to hear more from you, Mr. Webster, where can they find you online?
Very easy. On Instagram, on Twitter, it's the same at awebster84. Hit me up. I'm on YouTube, or I'm on TikTok as well, but I'm not really posting. I'm more just lurking and watching my algorithm do crazy things. It's hilarious.
Okay. I like it. And my name is Sheldon Alexander. You can find me online on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And don't forget please like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this pod right now. Bless us with a like. If you see the YouTube video, you're rocking with us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. That's how you support this pod. That is the movement on the On Blast Podcast Network. We hit you with football picks. We hit you with basketball talk. We hit you with some challenge talk. We got a whole lot coming, and let us know. There could be more on the way as well. But hey, we'll talk about that another time. Just please, I just want to say thanks to everyone who's been rocking with us as we continue to do this project here on the On Blast Podcast Network. It's because of you guys, the fans, listening and rocking with us and supporting us is why we continue to keep putting out all these pods. So I thank you. And what I always say to close out these pods is I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. Hold on. I just realized here as I stop this, is that more Philly gas right now? As I say the line that happened. Oh, wow. That's see.
Yeah.
Oh man.
See, don't go out on this season a loser, Shelly.
Why am I just feeding? I'm feeding into this Webster narrative.
I know the salt is hard, but there's still time to change your pick.
Webster has tricked me.
A point and a half against this Chiefs defense.
I don't know how you did it, how you tricked me into doing a basketball pod that really just turned into your Philly propaganda. But I love it anyways, because I love chopping it up with you, Mr. Andrew Webster, whether it's about the trade deadline, Kyrie Irving, the Raptors, the Super Bowl, the Grammys, Adele, Rich Paul, whatever it is. I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Ball on Blast podcast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Go Birds!